Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And hi, it's a pleasure and honor to be here with you. My name is Hendrik Blokhuis. I'm Engineering Director and CTO for Cisco. And again, looking forward to this session. Thank you for attending Cisco Live in my hometown, Amsterdam, in generally, and thank you specifically for attending this vision, and also the viewers that join with us online. Now, I'm here with two esteemed guests from two companies, both active in the ICT technology industry, but from totally different angles. So I don't think it needs much introduction, but Intel, Marit, you being the Vice President there for Channel and Partner Sales EMEA, and Joe Kershaw, thank you for being here as well, from IP Fabric, market leader on networking assurance. And when we briefed each other, we said, well, we've been an audience to many of those boring panels. Remember that? I mean, where people are talking to each other. So we agreed to have some excitement, but also some thought leadership. We gave ourselves a challenge to really address your topics. So please also don't be afraid to ask any questions, which could be during, after, or we will stay around here for a while as well to address this important topic of sustainability, because I don't know about you, but sustainability has been there for, I think, the past decade, when we called it green. And I, as a techie, always had a bit of a difficulty to translate technology into something pragmatic that really tied into sustainability, which was this overarching topic what nobody could be against it. But I think what we've seen through our three companies at least is that we can make it more tangible. We can make it more actionable, and that's important because it is a board topic nowadays. So let's kick it off. Joe, and again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
IP Fabric, all about network assurance, business resiliency. How do you guys tie that to the topic of sustainability?
It's a great question, and it's a tough one to start with. The idea of resiliency along with sustainability, they're almost emotional words when you're speaking with leaders, because it's their necks on the line. When you're speaking with practitioners, managers, directors, people architecting, securing and managing these enterprise networks, it's a mandate, it's a necessity, but it's less emotive. It's something I need to tick. What we're seeing within assurance when it comes to business resiliency and to sustainability is it's based on confidence. It's the understanding of the enterprise network, the ability to understand it, communicate about it, bring people into the conversation, gives confidence. And this is confidence to plan change, confidence to make change, but confidence that you will be able to respond when the unknowns surface or the unpredictable occurs. So at the practitioner level, we're helping to get the visibility that's always been lacking, to help with the understanding of enterprise networks, to then help practitioners and managers to actually represent their enterprise network and the critical projects that they're running under the eyes of resiliency and bringing more confidence into the enterprise. Because the point for understanding is a practitioner's understanding is going to be different or focused on different topics to a leader or a CEO or the board or any of the other the business initiative owners. And so the idea is break down the necessity for all of the speeds and feeds and datas and engineering by bringing shared understanding into these enterprise networks, so people can build resilient networks, people can join in the conversation of sustainability and resiliency, even if they're talking about really advanced engineering themes.
Yeah, so what kind of metrics would you tie to sustainability specifically?
So what we find, and a very dear customer of all three of us in Airbus, I spoke with their lead automation architect, Julien Monteau, of Airbus, yeah. And I asked him very specifically, I said, how do you, obviously with Airbus, there's a big drive for sustainability. There are CEO mandates within the transport and logistics sector, stronger than many other sectors. And he's a real thought leader, and he's out there leading the way to how they do manage networks, how they do build automation. And I asked him, how do you really make this tangible? And we had the discussion in two different ways. There is one, which I'm sure more themes will pop up with Moritz, that's about energy use, consumption, bringing in new technologies that can help operate enterprise networks with less consumption. So one is technology-based. The challenge with that is you're in data center environments. You can't do similar things that you can do with campus or telephony, wind things down, use low energy usage. You need this thing to be always available. And so then you come into the second theme, which is actually more about people and process. And when big enterprises are designing automation, it's about, and I'll come on to this a little bit later on, it's about how do you take the projects that you're running and you're planning and you're raising investment requests for and apply to the metric of sustainability. We are managing to operate our network with less mundane, manual human tasks compared to last year. This new approach is going to help us to reduce necessity of travel to data center sites, to campus sites, because we've brought the network visibility and the network understanding into a central platform that can be operated remotely, which was critical in COVID with distribution of resources. Being able to get that understanding centrally allows you to look at metrics of resource management and people and process within projects.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, thank you for that. Now switching to you, Maurits. I mean, Intel, I don't think it needs much of an introduction, one of the largest semiconductor designers and manufacturers. But I guess also a lot of pressure and focus and responsibility even to address the topic of sustainability, especially through things like your supply chain. What can you share with the audience on that one?
Sustainability is, sustainability is super important to us as a technology leader, not only leading with technology, but also leading in front of sustainability. This is a big challenge for many organizations. As it relates to Intel, there are three key areas we're looking at. First, drive sustainability through innovation in the design-in of our products, software and services. That's absolutely key. So if you look at the latest generation of products we introduced, so we recently introduced Core Ultra, which are AI mobile CPU, which is significant improvement in performance specifically for AI, but also the most energy efficient notebook capabilities. Then from a server perspective or a data center perspective, we introduced our latest generation of Xeon, it's the 5th generation, which again has AI capabilities built in to ensure, again, to have significant more performance, like a 30% performance increase while a 20% reduction in energy consumption. So these are absolute key metrics for driving that sustainability agenda from a product perspective as an example. But secondly, collaboration with the ecosystem is essential. Intel works with partners, through partners, and as an example, taking Cisco here as a key partner of ours, you're looking at the server design line, previous generations to today's generations, basically getting down from 15 servers to 1 is obviously a significant improvement, which
15
allows
to 1.
From 15 to 1
How do you do that?
By making sure we optimize the technology inside, working with a partner like Cisco, like how can we make sure not only our silicon provides better capabilities, but how do we build the infrastructure around it to ensure that we can move to the next layer of capabilities. So that's a super important thing for us, is Intel is really scaling through partners. And then last but not least, as a large manufacturer, reducing our footprint is critical. So we got very aggressive goals to reduce our footprint. So we want to be greenhouse zero emission by 2040.
The net zero, yeah.
So that's a very aggressive goal for a large manufacturer as Intel. But again, as a leader, you need to make sure that you are driving this initiative. And that will require a lot of innovation on our side, but also working again with the overall supply chain. As a key example, if you look at, go back a few years when we had the COVID situation, the supply chain was massively disrupted.
Yeah, we know all about that, yeah.
I'm sure many of you in the room also had the challenge of being able to get access to the right level of components. So if you look at the supply chain of semiconductors, and if you go back, say, to the 1990s, I think 40% of the semiconductors here were produced worldwide came out of Europe, 40%.
Wow.
Today, it's roughly 9%.
Yeah.
Yeah? Same type of indicators happens in the United States. So the dependency of your supply chain is super critical. So we've been working with the EU and in the US with the CHIPS Act to ensure we can start accelerating the supply chain closer to where things are being built. So Intel has agreed to invest over 50 billion, euros over the next, say 5 years to 10 years or so in building additional manufacturing site. We're going to build a mega fab in Magdeburg in Germany. We're building a assembly test facility in Poland. And we've extended capacity also in Ireland. So this basically means that the logistics supply chain for semiconductors significantly less dependent on the global situation. So that's been a massive effort, which is obviously still underway, but that's super important for that overall sustainability, not only from a pure product perspective, but also what it means to the environment, the logistics which are involved.
No, and thank you for that investing in our region. So that's great. I mean, being an EU citizen. Back to you, Joe. You gave a good introduction about the relevance of networking assurance towards sustainability, but I guess all these people here have got boards and CXOs that set those mandates, putting themselves and the shareholders under pressure of getting those goals, whatever they are. What kind of advice or tips can you give this audience to address network assurance, or to take that as a topic and address towards those CEO mandates?
Yeah, it's a good question. The mandates are ever present, whether it's sustainability, whether it's resiliency tied risk avoidance, compliance and corporate governance, or whether it's new revenue streams being driven by faster time to market in applications, automation underpinning that. These mandates, they may sound great to marketing and they're beautiful at the top. They then need tearing down with consultants involved, legal to understand government guidance on compliance. So there's all of these layers where there's different conversations happening. And what we've been seeing over the last 5 years of the emergence of assurance as a technology space is the front-running customers of ours that are getting the most value from their network investments in the kit they're getting from Cisco, in the projects they're running, the consultants they hire, are those that understand they have a place at the table. Table's probably the wrong analogy if we're talking these multiple tiers, but there's an importance for networks and network automation to not be lab projects done in a dirty, dark room. They should be brought to front and center. And we see the people with the drive to get involved in the topics, getting the most progress in the shortest amount of time from the innovations that they're looking to adopt. We've seen it far too often that a customer will buy into the next networking solution, but doesn't consider how that solution plugs into the wider picture, how their tooling ecosystem needs to adapt in order to bring shared understanding into what they're actually delivering, but then think about how do you tie it up to the mandates. So if we take corporate governance, for example, we're doing a lot of work with Tesco globally. Big supermarket, tied into public infrastructure in a very critical way. They have regular audits. I'll say regular, they're annual. They need to be because of the sheer burden that's spent on legal, understanding, interpreting, consulting, turning it into architectural strategy, turning that into the ability to actually manage that within the environment. And what we're seeing is that the engineers and the management of engineering that take better network understanding and take that data and try and present it through a lens that leadership care about, presenting dashboards that tie directly into corporate governance. No longer is it a case of the network is up, the network is down, the application's supported. It's now a case of we're steadily making improvements week after week, month after month, towards better corporate governance, better resiliency, better preparation. And we as IP Fabric, as the vendor, we're not driving that change. We may empower it through the data, but it actually takes the the nous, the energy and the passion of an engineering group to realize that their automation projects, their visibility projects do have a tie to business resiliency, to corporate governance, and everything that the C-level care about. So it's about speaking to thought leaders, speaking to people at conferences. How are you guys thinking about this mandate? How are you managing to actually plug your projects, your investments into this, and what sort of metrics are you looking at?
Exploring that. Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant inspiration. Thank you so much. Switching topic, and I'm sorry, I have to ask you this, Maurits. It's, of course, on the topic, the elephant in the room, AI. We talk about AI, but it comes at a cost, energy cost. What is Intel's vision? Because AI and ICT in general can be part of the solution as well as part of the problem. What's your perspective? That's probably being asked to you every single minute. So.
Yeah, well, I think today we're all talking about AI, we're all talking about sustainability, but they're both super important, and actually there is a great connection. So if you look at, so the way we look at AI is, we see the explosion of AI, the need, the desire to compute more data. There is going to be more data flowing in. How can we be more efficient? So from an Intel perspective, we want to make sure we are looking at 3 key aspects. So one, start with the modeling. Let's make sure we optimize the modeling, the compression technologies. Let's make sure we improve so we become more efficient there from a power consumption eventually. And then software optimization. Software optimization, looking at the platforms like a PyTorch, TensorFlow. We got one API, which is a great tool which allows you to really determine which workload needs to be run on which type of processor. As an example, you don't need a GPU for basic workloads. There are many applications who just default to GPU. That's obviously not very power efficient. So we have this one API which really helps you to ensure we are using the correct processor technology to run those workloads. And then last but not least, overall software optimization and looking at the product line we lined up for AI. We're obviously well known for our core processors being in the data center or being on the client, but there's much more to it. We have a high-end large language model accelerator called Gaudi. Gaudi is the 2nd generation. We just announced last December that the 3rd generation will come out as well. And that Gaudi product line is basically a 50% less energy consumption than our competition. 50.
50? Okay.
50.
Wow.
And then you're looking at the classic, more classic Xeon type based, where there's a lot of AI integrated. So what many people haven't seen maybe is we are building in accelerators into our core CPU. So you don't necessarily need an additional accelerator for many of the AI workloads. So if you look at our latest generation, again, we are talking about a 30% energy saving compared to our competition when you're looking at these type of data center solutions. So I think there is a long way to go in terms of understanding what do we want to do with AI. AI is super important. It has lots of benefits, but we also need to be considerate of where are we using what, for what. We don't necessarily need to default to building out a host of GPUs to do certain things. Let's analyze what is the problem you try to solve. Do you need a GPU, or can you do it in a standard processor? I think that's super important, and I think it's also part of our overall sustainability thinking, like what do we want to achieve? What is the outcome? And how do we line up the best technology in front of us to help our customers to make the right decision?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's brilliant and impressive, especially the 50%. And also going back to you, Joe, on that topic. Now, of course, I mean, Intel as a manufacturer has got a different angle onto this topic. But I guess AI also offers for IP Fabric a huge opportunity. If you look at the metrics, the insights, and to give it even a human interface using Gen AI, is any innovation popping up at IP Fabric on that area?
For us, it's more about how we're helping enterprise customers to force the network, to use the analogy, back up to the top table. We see in most large enterprises that the applications, infrastructure storage, the automation, visibility, understanding is 2 decades ahead of the network. The network has been disregarded for too long, or the approaches have been disregarded for too long. And what we're actually seeing is different stages of maturity, of course. We're working with one of the big hyperscalers out of the US, who are 5 years ahead of most of the conservative enterprises that we work with here in Europe. But what they've been able to do within a year of adopting network assurance is suddenly get a view on technical debt first, an approach to standardization of data and of understanding and of visibility into an enterprise network, and the representation of that network and its data as an API point. And what that has allowed to happen suddenly is there's been a program for the last 3 to 5 years on can we apply language models and AI to overall enterprise data sets to deem insights.
Promise.
Applications, yeah, sure. Infrastructure, yeah, sure. I say sure. They're figuring out the AI element and the actual value and the use cases that they can deliver. Networks, no chance. We're too busy running around, pointing fingers, trying to document, trying to fix our supply chains, get the right vendors in place and everything else. With assurance and an abstraction over that complexity, they're able to put the network data up into the same data explorer type of technologies, and they will be able to start applying language models and AI practices and policies and theories against the enterprise from applications, infrastructure, and networks.
Okay.
So we will look ourselves towards the application of AI within the compliance and the metrics that we are capturing as we look at relationships between devices, path routing across a particular network. But even now, we're in the position where we're helping organizations to accelerate the network and to be able to get involved in those sorts of topics where previously they couldn't.
Yeah, thank you. Brilliant answer. To close, and as a closing question, we try to serve the audience here. And thank you for the inspiration already shared. But in closing, Maurits, what would you like to share with the audience? Any tips, hints, thought leadership that they can take away with them? What's top of mind for you?
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned some of the challenges we see with AI and the opportunity. But again, for us as a leader, of driving innovation in the semiconductor industry, we take our responsibilities very serious. And what we've been doing with sustainability is from a manufacturing point of view, 100% of the manufacturing we have currently in this region and what we're building out will be 100% renewable energy. So again, it is really important for us that we care about the environment and we build that into our products, not only in the technology itself, but also in the way we're going to manufacture these products. So I really want to make sure that people understand that Intel is really taking this leadership position, and we have to be a leader in driving sustainability in that manufacturing supply chain. And then at the same time, the product we bring to market, that they are easy to understand and to use in the most cost-efficient way, as it also relates to energy consumption. So again, as I mentioned before, we don't want to make sure we throw a massive GPU to basic AI workloads. We just want to make sure we help, and we need to help more our partners to educate on what is the best solution to drive the outcome which is needed for your customer.
Yeah, true. And I guess, I mean, a lot of people here will also have supply chain operations, and I think you can also present a great example of, let's say, Intel on Intel, what you're doing to build like a trusted, secure supply chain going forward. I mean, that's another piece of inspiration. Thank you for that. Joe, back to you. What do you want to share with the audience?
As I've responded in most cases, it's more about the people, it's more about the organizations and the people running those projects than it's necessarily about us. But the lead point, or the final point that I would state, is all of the innovations and the projects that you're trying to run in the enterprise, they need the ability, or you need the ability, to bring people into the conversation. It's with the sorts of pressures of resiliency, sustainability, with timelines tied to them. It's not a point of overburdening project. We need more experts. We need more of this. We need more scripting. We need everything. The point is, this stuff's needed for the execution. But to get people onto the same page, get people a shared narrative, and start actually making progress, you need to aim to get understanding. You need to standardize your approach to data, standardize your approach to data collection, and actually get people involved in the topics, which is difficult. It's easy to say, we're doing this thing that whizzes and bangs, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to cost X millions.
Yep.
But it's difficult to actually say, this is why is it important, this is what it's going to do for the business, this is our shared narrative and our shared understanding. And so the practice of bringing more people into the conversation is going to be critical if we're actually going to make any progress towards some of these lofty mandates with tight time frames.
Thank you, thank you. And I mean, as our dear sponsors, and thank you for that, you have an impressive booth here as well. Joe, can you share, if people want to know more, what can they find at the IP Fabric booth? Can you give maybe demonstrations or take a deeper dive into what you just said?
Yeah, exactly. So just before this session...
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. Just before this session, there was actually the Network Field Day session that was recorded around here. We've got the whole team on the booth, from our CEO to our chief evangelist to a team of solution architects, sales guys speaking all the languages of Europe, not all the languages, that is a push too far, many languages. The point of this is it's a different practice as assurance. We see it as an inevitable technology in big critical enterprises. You need understanding, you need the data that we're presenting. What I would represent here, or what we're representing at the booth, C12, in the middle of the world of solutions, is what does assurance mean? How do you plug it into your narratives? How do you build those narratives to make sure that leaders understand it? And how do you actually present your network and everything you're doing within the network in a way that leadership will actually care? So at our booth, we want to get stuck into those conversations. We want to run straight for the fire. What's your gnarliest project that you're struggling to get visibility into, struggling to get alignment on? And let's talk about it. Let's see if we can help you get the clarity you need.
That's brilliant. More than welcome. Maurits, what can people find at the Intel booth, besides you?
Well, we got a couple of demos. So we got our GPUs to start off, so you can see some demos there, and some AI applications.
People get a free GPU if they scan the business card?
Well, it depends what you call free, but there's a lot of negotiable options.
Oh, that's good, that's good.
And then we do a lot of presentations on technologies we share, solutions we have with Cisco. So there's a lot of learning opportunity at our booth as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience for Intel or IP Fabric? Or have they been clear? Like I said, those two great leaders will be around at their booth, and we will stuck here for a couple of more minutes if you want to reach out. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and let's give them a big hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.